Hello, today is Wednesday, February 19th, and welcome to episode 416 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm Jessica Jones, and I'm joined today by NSI Advisory Board member Les Munson and two of our favorite A's, Amy Mitchell and Andrew Boreen. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Today, we are talking about DeepSeek, which is a Chinese-based AI model that has positioned itself as a competitor to the US's own OpenAI's GPT-4 and Google's Gemini, and it's drawn massive attention. It was developed by Moonshot AI, a Chinese company with reported links to the government, and is one of what China calls its new AI tigers. DeepSeek came in pretty fast and furious, at least to most people, and it was perfectly timed on the heels of a White House announcement of $500 billion for AI infrastructure that would be a partnership between OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. DeepSeek quickly drew scrutiny from policymakers and cybersecurity efforts due to concerns about its ties to Beijing, potential risks to national security, concerns over data security, etc. The U.S. government announced that DeepSeek would not be permitted on federal systems, while South Korea recently suspended new downloads of the app as it accused Chinese DeepSeek of sharing user data with the owner of TikTok, ByteDance, which also has been in the headlines. Okay, so first I'm going to turn to you, Andrew, our first A of the episode. How much of this, how worried should we be about DeepSeek? Is it surprising that China just rolls out with this new AI model?
I think am I recording? Can you hear
Yes.
me? Oh, apologies. Yeah. A little mute button showing. Yeah, so let's just start with the fact that this still remains the Communist Party of China dictated Chinese technology policy that has not changed. And so for starters, it raises a couple of concerns. One, the development of these tools, was it based off of actual authentic new research and development, or was it used and developed off of existing models by really robust companies that have privacy protections, that are uncensored, that do it the right way, such as Meta and OpenAI, ChatGPT? It's certainly early indications are that it is highly derivative, and it's built on a kind of a neural pathway as opposed to a full robust LLM as we have in the US. Other concerns are about the data. And when people put this app on their phone, it's not just what they're typing in with the AI. It can also be all kinds of other sensor data on a platform or a laptop or a phone, and where that goes. So I guess I am unsurprised that there is concern. Frankly, I was surprised by US media and early consumer adoption of downloading yet another Chinese headquartered company's app with direct ties to the Chinese Communist Party, especially because in the last decade, we have seen that Communist Party of China become very, very aggressive at stealing data and using our open economy against us to get that kind of insight.
Yeah, and Amy, I turn to you. As Andrew mentioned, I mean, you can't get an answer when it comes to Tiananmen Square or Taiwan independence if you're entering that onto DeepSeek, and yet it was on the top downloaded list like overnight, right? Americans were hankering for it. What do you make of its popularity? What does this mean for the greater U.S.-China tech competition? Obviously, the Trump and Biden administrations have been trying to put restrictions on semiconductor chips sales to China to stop this kind of advancement, but are they not working?
Well, I think under the Biden administration, we saw a lot of positive movement in that area. We saw more investment in Taiwan semiconductors, but since Trump has, and obviously the law against or banning TikTok in the 40 or so days that the Trump administration has been in place, we've already ignored the law or postponed the law on TikTok. And there was a news out the other day that DeepSeek is sharing its information with ByteDance and, kind of correlating the users that we're seeing on both. And so that's funneling more data into the CCP databases. And that when we do ban these technologies here, right, there's the ability to either push them off or ignore them, as we saw last week with Apple and Google allowing downloads of TikTok again. So I think Biden was, and I hate to say this, Biden and Congress were stronger on China than we are seeing in the first 40 days of the Trump administration, where they want to make a deal either with General Secretary Xi or the CCP writ large. We saw Trump's kind of, you know, glorious declaration again that he's got a great relationship with Xi and wants to make a deal. The question is, what is the deal and at what expense of the American public?
Les, I'm going to turn to you, even though you look like the lighting above you, you look like you're in a hospital bed, like sharing your expertise
Damn.
from there.
Harsh,
See?
Jones.
There's some frames. Okay. Amy talked about TikTok. So the Trump administration kind of started with TikTok, right? It was supposed to be shut down. And then right before the inauguration, thanks to, and TikTok had it on their screens, thanks to the Trump administration, deciding not to enforce the ban on TikTok. It still exists. Amy brought up that you can now download it. That deadline to sell and divest TikTok is coming up 7 days from January. We're looking at that in April. Do you think the Trump administration is going to enforce it if it doesn't sell? Like, what do you think this bigger, conversation, Amy's point about what's going on with, U.S. policy vis-a-vis China? What can you see as, Ukraine's been in the headlines. So we've kind of taken our eye off for just a little bit what's going on with the Trump administration's position on China. What do you think?
Jones, first of all, Andrew clearly understands the AI technology way better than I do. And so I defer to him, and I agree with Amy on where the Trump administration is on China with some caveats. I don't think Biden was all that terrific either. And we'll see where the Trump administration ends up. I am a little worried that we're way too eager to do deals for the sake of deals. The last 24 hours on Ukraine have been really not impressive from the administration, and folks have been saying a lot of stuff, and we're positioning ourselves in what seems like a completely ridiculous manner for an incredibly serious topic. And I'm worried that this is a prelude to equal caving in with the Chinese on whatever they're going to try to run the table on Trump with. I am reminded of the North Korean negotiations from 6 or 7 years ago that did not really turn out well at all for the United States. If we're just going to do that again, why bother? Let's get a tough line on DeepSeek and TikTok for that matter. I understand it getting a little squishy on TikTok because that's hugely popular to a lot of Americans. But let's do what we're supposed to do. Let's follow the law. Let's get that thing sold. There's no reason not to take a hard line here. I really don't understand why we're screwing around at all with either of these issues.
Whoa, Les on Hump Day is laying down the law. Thank you. That's a wrap. Thanks so much.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the Biden administration was great on China.
Amy's last word is, wait, let me be clear.
If I can just get, I'll take my 2 fingers here real quick. I think when we talk about anything Trump administration, my personal assessment, I think increasingly others, is the only individual who speaks for the Trump administration is Donald Trump, right? And so if we try to read signals saying, what did this department say? What did this spokesperson say? It doesn't actually lead us. And so in many ways, we are all left kind of waiting to see what happens there. The second thing is that there was no ban on TikTok. It was a mandate of a divestiture, right? A change in ownership so the Chinese Communist Party no longer has a clear structural path to spy on every single human using that app through ByteDance. And so I think it doesn't matter if it's AI or if it's a social media or if whatever the next app is. What we are concerned about is Chinese code, just as we were concerned about Kaspersky being on government systems. And so I think what more we focus on the structure and the real risk that we can document, I think probably the more both parties in America start to create common sense policies.
Fortunately, we have to communicate that to the American people who only care about the social media, the actual app download.
Well, this American only cares about the Canada-USA hockey game tomorrow night, which is going to be,
it's going to be intense.
51st state or territory, or do we become part of Canada less? You tell me.
Yeah, Les, who's going to win that
game? Take on Canada at great risk. They're 2-0 against us in wars. So hockey, I think, they're probably better than us.
But they don't have.
Let's play them in basketball or something. Can we just play them in basketball? I think that's a good idea.
It's all down to sports diplomacy. That's a wrap. That's actually a wrap. Thanks so much to Kelly Crawley, Claude Jennings, and the NSI team for their help in producing today's episode. Join us again on Friday. See what the world looks like then on February 21st for another episode of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you smart fast on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. We're on YouTube, so check us out there if you want to see Les's hospital room. And if you like what you heard or saw, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Terrible.